Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey, yo, what up? It's Bocha.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that, Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah. Bocha. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Stand 5'10". I like long walks on the beach. Yeah.
And what got you into music initially?
I'd say I feel like I was always into music, but what got me into making music was just a kid being bored.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was anybody else in your household musical at all?
I'd say my whole family is very consumer when it comes to music,
Yeah, so they're fans of it, but they don't make it.
Exactly. Well, my dad makes music or had made music when he was young, but besides that, it's just we just love indulging. And I guess with that, just turned eventually where my friend was like, hey, you want to make a song? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Let's try it,
Hell yeah.
And
shout out to that friend for getting it going.
Yeah.
And then before we officially get into more of what you do with music in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
For sure.
First one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
First album I ever bought with my own money. Because I was like, there was a lot of illegal downloads back in my day.
Yeah, that's been a running theme.
But I'd say it was probably, which album was it though? I think it was Drake's Nothing Was the Same.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I was really onto the illegal downloads.
Yeah.
When I was like the guy. So.
Yeah, once LimeWire hit the main thing for everybody was like,
yeah. And I was like one of the friends that was early on to
gotcha. So you were like the guy who had,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, if somebody wanted something, you were like,
I got you.
Give me a blank CD.
Give me a CD, give me an MP3 player, I got it.
Yep. Hell yeah. I dig that. Yeah. And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was specifically one you wanted to go to?
Yeah. So, funny thing is my first performance was opening for Currency.
Oh, damn.
And that was my first concert I've ever been to.
Okay.
And also I'm just a fan of him.
Yeah.
So it was all in one. It was all in one.
Damn.
And
that's a special moment.
Yeah, because I got to open up for my first performance, which was surreal. And then I got to stand next to the stage and watch him.
Yeah.
And we were passing the joint around, which was surreal. And then afterwards, I got to meet him. And this was all my first time doing all this. Yeah. And so that's when I was like, hey, I think I'm meant to do this.
So had you even been to like a local show prior to that?
No.
So that was like your first live music experience ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get the opening spot?
We knew the promoter.
Okay.
Yeah, we just knew the promoter. He was down and we were selling tickets and we're just like, boom.
Yeah, okay.
I had a whole bunch of my friends pull up because it was like my first show.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good way to make sure you get a good ticket sale is just by being like, hey, it's the first one I'm ever doing, guys.
Literally.
Currency's going to be there.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah. That's rad. That might be one of the coolest answers I've ever gotten for that.
Yeah.
And then before we officially get into you today, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Yeah, I'd say because when I did that performance, there was me and a couple other dudes on stage. How everybody gets down. And when I was like 20, I guess, I'm like, I need to be alone on stage. Just me.
Okay. How many years after was that roughly?
3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So you'd been like kind of doing it for a while. You'd gotten pretty comfortable in your space.
And I just was realizing like I want to see the world that I can create on stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I dig that. Well, then let's go ahead and let's get into you in the present day. We are going to get a super easy one out of the way first. How'd you pick the name?
So same day that my friend was like, you want to make this song? We had little nicknames for each other, and that was Big Mocha. I got a mocha right here.
Of course, yeah.
And I just put them together. Bocha.
Okay.
Yep. And I was like, watch, one day I'm gonna make this tight. And now most people think it's my real name.
Oh, damn. Yeah. I mean, if you had told me it was, I would have believed you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that is a cool origin story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning.
Okay.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
To get a track started, I'd say I call all the troops. And what I mean by that is all my producers. I have a good handful of which I'm like consistently working with. So I'm just like, hey, I need something. And if I'm like starting on a project, it's all from scratch. So I don't really have a direction. I don't really know what I want to talk about yet. I don't know what myself wants to spew out. So I just get a plethora of beats. And it could be from one producer, it could be from a couple different ones. And I just make songs. You just make them. And I'd say like, what gets me inspired to even write, it has to pass the first 5 seconds. Like the first 5 seconds, I have to just be attracted to it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't really think about, will this be consumed on a large basis? It's just because I'm a musician, so I'm going to make music regardless if it's consumed or not.
Yeah.
But it has to pass that 5-second rule where I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And when you say that, do you mean like the track has to like have 5 seconds in the beginning where it's like, it's good without you, or just within the first 5 seconds it has to like grab you?
Either or.
Okay.
Either or. It's just, some songs take forever to get into it.
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself as a consumer as well, and I'm like, I have short attention spans at sometimes I don't like skits at the beginning of videos or music or songs that I really like.
Fair.
I just really like the song, and so I like to consider that with creating, I guess, at times.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I always appreciate when they make the skit its own track. When you want to hear it, you can when you're listening to the track before it and the track that it leads into, you can have that.
Exactly.
You just want the track. You don't have to
you just have it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said it on the show a million times, so I have to say it here. I am a big fan of skits.
Yeah.
I don't want to undercut that for the returning viewers.
Yeah, because it creates storytelling.
Exactly. Sure. But when it's its own thing. That being said, I do love hidden tracks that are at the end. Tracks, to where you like have to get all the way through.
Hidden tracks, I love hidden tracks.
Yeah. But getting back into you, as far as like lyrical structure goes, are you a pen to paper, or like the modern day pen to paper? Do you freestyle? How do you go about coming up with the words?
All the above. I'd say like sometimes, depending on the song or the topic of the song, might take me a day, it might take me a week, it might take me a month to write. But then sometimes I just go in the booth and spew words, and it's made on the spot.
Okay.
So it's really depending on who I'm working with.
Gotcha.
Because if I'm like, I have a home set up, and so I record myself when I don't have the producer with me.
Yeah.
Just to send the beat, and I'll get in my own element and do it. But if I'm in the studio with the producer, I'm just like, you make the beat right here, right now. I'll make the lyrics right here, right now.
Okay.
We won't think about it before or after.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's I've been liking that process more of lately, just because I feel like I can get more of my feelings in that moment off, you know, and then I can like talk about songs and have a whole message later when I can like sit there and really break down my lyrics, as opposed to like, nah, this song's just gonna be fun and you're gonna feel that.
Yeah. Well, then I imagine when you're in like the room with a producer, you can even be like, hey, I need this moment to like have more of this, have more of that. Like,
exactly.
Let's open it up, let's narrow it down.
And as we're like creating the sound of the song, it's like I'm still writing in my head. You know what I mean? Or I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? And we'll have a concept, so then we can just think of sounds that kind of represent that. And then,
you can even like, you're almost like composing track and your words at the same time.
In the moment. Because
I'll unified.
I'll lock myself in the booth and I can just like, yep, that one, yep. Yeah, okay, press record.
Hell yeah. Have you ever been in the booth and been like, hey, I really need like this instrument over this spot? And
yes.
like just
on the spot. Quick. Yeah. That's what we do all the time when I'm in the studio. It's kind of like our workflow. We're like producing in the midst of me.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm like, all right, I'm thinking of like the next line or something, he'll throw a little beat breakdown for the next little 4 bars I got or something where I'm like, just inspire me to like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna switch it up right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have like a certain time of the day that's like better for you? Like, are you like a night music guy, a morning music guy? Like, do you have to do like noon?
Yeah.
When's like your most creative window of time?
All day.
Okay.
Yeah, I say like I get the most done when I have like, all right, we're getting to the studio at like 9 or 10 in the morning.
Okay.
And we have no plans but to be here for the rest of the day.
Gotcha.
I feel like with that, I'm like, I have the freedom of, I can walk in there and do whatever I want, walk out, go see the sunshine, and then walk back in and do whatever I want. So I feel like with those days, and like we'll kind of like call in the troops in those days too. Like, hey, come bring some people that play instruments, bring some other producers, bring some artists. We'll just make as many songs as we want and have like a little camp that day.
Okay.
Of sorts. And I feel like I get the most work done because I'm inspired by everybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that would definitely explain, I was checking out your music on Spotify, and you've got a grip of music. All the way back to 2017. And I mean, a ton of EPs, a ton of singles, but you also have a very consistent window of album drops going. Starting from 2020, it's been at least 1 or 2 a year since then. And I love the atmosphere of music that you've created. Like, I mean, even going all the way back to like Garden Boys, your EP with Dante Thomas, like there's just this air of like relaxed meets just precise execution. There's like, there's never a moment in time where I'm listening to it and I've been like, oh, that could have been this, that could have been, it's just dialed. And like, so is your delivery. Like, I think that's kind of the thing that makes it, because even on your most recent album, What's the Matter, which like just came out, like what was the track? I didn't write the name of it down. I thought I did. What's the middle track? I'm so sorry. I thought
there is Joint. There is
2 tracks before Joint. I know that.
There is
the W. Is it Where?
Where's the Love?
Where's the Love?
Yeah, Where's the Love at?
That track I was listening to, and it's the only one that the whole track doesn't have like a beat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a loop.
But you're just going on it. You're so locked into, and I'm a bass player. That's where I come from.
Yeah, and
so I noticed that you dial the way your flow lined up with the bass in that track.
Thank you.
It was so good. And I mean, the album as a whole is super solid. Big fan.
Thank you.
But I am curious to know, because you've got such a big catalog, what are some of your favorite tracks?
Wow. I say, because, for instance, Garden Boys was my first go round, one with Dante and one with our producer Corey G, who produced all of
that as well. Yes.
And then throughout my catalog, you see them.
Yeah, I was going to say those two names show up a lot.
Yeah. Those are my brothers. And so this is the second full album me and Corey G have done, and our last album was DIY, which was like a changing point in my life creatively, I guess, and that's why it was called DIY, because I figured out I'm all by myself in this, like every other creative is. And so my favorite song from there would be Hold Me Down.
Okay.
Just because at the moment how I was feeling, I felt like it was more of a diary than anything. And so that's probably one of my favorite songs just for me. But to perform, I really like Round My Way, which was from Everything Must Go, just because the crowd reacts very well. I took that on tour, and the crowd just loves that song. Yeah, so I'm like, that one is probably one of my favorites too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I rarely ask this, but you have one track in particular that is like, just the internet seemed to love it a lot.
Oh yeah, GG number 4.
Yeah. What can you tell us give us a little backstory of that track?
Yeah. So that was when Dante and myself were working on our album Buds, which was like our second installment from Garden Boys to Buds. And we were like, okay, how are we gonna like infiltrate the algorithm? Because we both individually had a little buzz going, super underground, but he had his thing, I had my thing, so it was a thing, and we both linked up for Garden Boys. And we were like, okay, we figured something out. We're hitting them with a second one, we have to go way harder. So our intention was just more intentional. So when we were writing that song in particular, we were like, their attention spans are short. We have to go right in the first seconds. Like, so I hit record and needs like a college baller, boom, and then it drops. And I guess the beat is so hypnotizing and it's so hip hop. It's just, it caught right away.
Okay.
Got picked up by the right people and it just caught.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now let's go ahead. Let's talk about some new music you're working on. What do you got cooking? What can you tell us about it? What's coming up next?
Yeah, right now I've been working with Yellow Trash Can and Snugsworth. The album just got mixed and mastered. And probably gonna make another one as well, but that's just been home base right now. It's just been me, Yellow Trash Can, and Snugsworth all in the room.
Hell yeah.
Making whatever we make. And hopefully I feel like this next sound we're going for is bigger, grungier.
Just straight death metal.
No, you know what I mean? But I mean, sometimes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to bend genres at the right times.
Gotcha.
Where it doesn't sound like too gimmicky or anything. It's just like, you're there hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And we're all from different genres.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, if you're working with those two, I imagine it's going to be a pretty broad experience.
You know, we're
really rooted in music.
We're all from different genres.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, you're going to hear all that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, definitely looking forward to that. Now let's take a moment and let's zoom out. Let's look at kind of music as a whole.
For sure.
What are some of the things about either new music, if you're one of those people who's listening to the new all the time, or at the very least music that's newer to you that you've recently found that you enjoy and you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
I say I'm not too much on the new music of like the who's who, I'd say, from what like I'd consider is relevant, like what the kids are listening to.
I gotcha.
They left me a long time ago. But what I do is reach out to a lot of the artists locally. And what me and Jason from Yellow Trash Can, we like to do like every couple months is make a round of calls to artists that we like, or artists that we know that are kind of tastemakers, and we ask them, like, who do you think is next? Like, who do you think from here, like, who?
Yeah.
And we get a list going, reach out to all these artists, and we offer our resources. Like, hey, come to the studio. Let's see if we vibe. Let's try to make some music. Let's try to make some music that caters to you. You know, I also songwrite. I don't got to rap on everything of yours, you know, like, you know, and we just try to see what different artists may need, see if we would be a right fit for them, and just like try to help with artist development. And I feel like doing that inspires me so much, because it brings such a different energy when you have someone that's like either newer to music or is just stoked to have an opportunity where they're around other creatives, because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
Especially just like everyone looks at what we're doing, it's like so cool. Like, oh, you guys live and breathe music. And I'm like, you can too. You just have to literally live and breathe it. Like, you can still work your job. You just got to live and breathe this.
Yeah, work your job for the opportunity to do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just being around people with that mentality isn't the norm all the time.
That's really interesting. So you're literally, instead of like going and finding new music, you're bringing people in to create new music.
Yeah.
So instead of looking for it, you're making it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Like,
and you're doing it with people that like you don't even directly know. So like you're helping them to discover new music for themselves and you as well.
Exactly. Like, come on, let's, you know, the worst that's going to happen is you make a song that you don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. But you still get to spend time with, you know, competent people. And I mean, the people you're reaching out to, I imagine you already trust the opinions of. So
exactly.
Going on the internet and saying who's who.
Yeah. And we're like, you know, like, oh, okay, who's this? Oh, their Instagram looks cool, or they look like a cool, let's reach out to them. What are you doing Wednesday? We got a pocket of the studio open. You want to pull up?
Hell yeah.
We may not even make music. Can we just conversate?
Damn.
You know, what do you need?
Yeah, I love that. That is a really cool approach.
Yeah, yeah.
And then before we get into this next part, this next question is probably the densest question in the interview. But, you know, we've talked a lot about your experiences with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Music gives back everything that I put into it. You know, literal blood, sweat, and tears.
Yep.
And I feel like it gives me back everything that I give it love, I nurture it, I care for it, and it gives that back to me times 100. You know what I mean? And the fact that people are still listening always surprises me. And I don't know why. It just does. Like that million streams, you know, to me, it was just another day. But then when I thought about it, I was just like, people are listening. It's just weird to me because I make these songs in my bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like,
you know, but I just to kind of go off of what you just said, you literally said that that music gives back to you 100 times what you put into it. So that means you're putting in, you know, a bunch. Like you're putting in effort. And one thing people have always resonated towards is an honest experience, a genuine moment in music. So if you're giving your all, and I mean, I've listened to, especially today, I've listened to a grip of your music. I had already known you prior to this musically. Like, it's very apparent that like you care about the presentation of your music. It's very apparent that you put a lot of work into making it an enjoyable experience on the receiving end.
Yes.
And, you know, in the words of Riley, game recognized game.
Game recognized game.
When that happens, like it's hard to kind of hold back on.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't think it's surprising at all, just because, you know, my whole day is spent listening to local music, big music that's like, I listen to a new album that I've never heard before every day on my way to work.
I love that.
And I mean, I can tell you that like it's not a surprise at all to me that your music gets listened to.
Yeah, I appreciate
like I said, you have the tenacity and the delivery for it.
Yeah. It just freaks me out sometimes, but I do appreciate it. Like it doesn't go unappreciated.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But now let's go ahead and let's move on to some hypothetical questions.
Yeah.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Yeah, for sure.
This first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person The only requirement is they have to be alive.
Okay.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Ooh, okay. I would want to work with Pharrell, but not musically. I'd want to work with Pharrell with like designing homes and furniture. Yeah. I just feel like the worlds that he's created visually are so bright and colorful. And when you think of him, you just think of bright, colorful. He literally made happy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like, and growing up, before I was into music, I was really into engineering and architecture. And I just feel like, man, if we could sit down and like just make a house or like make a studio, you know, that felt like a house or felt like a wonderland, whatever. I just want to like dive into his brain and see what we could design.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rad answer. I love that.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, and this may be a tough one, but who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Milk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Milk.
I mean, we've done a song, but it was for the homie G-Lo, and he got like a feature from me and Milk.
Gotcha.
But I haven't like personally worked with Milk. I know Milk.
Okay.
You know, like I've been to his house plenty of times and stuff, but we just haven't like
it just hasn't lined up
that and worked with music. We just chill, you know.
No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, everybody know what to do. Add them in the comments. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
I'd have to do a 23andMe so I can find out where exactly in Africa I'm from, if I'm from anywhere in Africa. And I want to go to the motherland of wherever I'm from.
Damn.
Yeah, just to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool answer.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, surprise, we happen to. All right. And then to wrap up the hypothetical question, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Ooh, Aaliyah.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, what a good answer.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and March?
Now in March, we'll probably get, I'm still pushing this album, so we'll get a little more for the rollout. And then hopefully you'll get a whole nother project and some more, plus live performances and hopefully a tour.
Okay. So, well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
For this next one, go and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me everywhere at Bocha the Grape. Yes, Bocha the Grape. Online, everywhere. Look me up. Produce and No Juice. You got it.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
Your vote is important.
All right. Well, with that being said, then we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Wiz Khalifa, Taylor Alderdice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Great one.
What is it about that album in particular?
I feel like, well, when I started doing music, Wiz Khalifa was like my favorite rapper, just because I felt like he was the happiest rapper in the world, and there was like everything about him was positive. You can't hate on that. And I feel like Taylor Alderdice was in a point of his career where he was like, oh, he's not going back. It's like nowhere but up from this point. And I feel like that album sound so mature, and it sounded like, oh, he's here to stay. Like, he bossed up.
God.
That was very inspiring, just because, like, I was a fan of him during MySpace before he figured it out at all.
Yep.
You know, and then he got on and he got Amber Rose right after Kanye West, and he got rich. And I'm like watching this, and so I'm like, oh yeah, listening to this, and I'm like, man, this is inspiring.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that and that rec. Sure. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Bocha.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.